Yo, 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 what is up? We are back. This is our San Francisco 49ers B.S. We got Raj here from our San Francisco 49ers, hence the first part of that name. And then it's me, Ryan from No Crypto or from No Border Sports. Oh, we're having a great day. We've already started the show before, and you guys didn't even see it.
Yeah, that was funny. We were
Yeah.
talking, and then all of a sudden we weren't even live. I was like, "What's going on?" We could have been talking for an hour. Who knows?
Guys, we could have totally missed it. We could have missed out on all this gold. Want to say shout out to everybody in the chat. Randy, I already did this once tonight. I want to shout you out again so you can hear it. What up, Raphael? Thank you for coming in and joining us. Who knows how the rest of this stream will go? It's going off without a hitch already. Oh, he's yawning. We're screwed.
It's a long day. It's a long day. I stayed up late, woke up early.
Oh, were you doing some fun things?
Stuff like that. Yeah, let's
right.
get into the show.
Oh, hey. So now, is there anything that you think kind of got looked over with all the kind of quarterback talk, which we'll get into later? What is there anything you think that people are overlooking that they should kind of read more into?
I mean, there's a few things. It wasn't like huge news, but I don't want to lead off with kicker, but I mean, there was a little tidbit that John Lynch said. He goes, "We didn't sign the kicker, we signed a kicker." So it's like, oh, okay, we got a kicker, but to me, it tells me they're still going to look into a kicker. So it's not like, oh my God, but it's kind of like, okay, they're not 100% settling on Zane Gonzalez. So I think they're going to get another kicker down the line in the draft. But obviously, the big news of the week is what everybody's talking about is quarterback. But yeah, there are some other things. The Brandon Aiyuk situation is, they said that they're going to pick up his fifth-year option, and that tells you they're really committed to this guy. Next year, he's going to be on the books for $14 million. It's a contract year for him. This man has been training his ass off this offseason. And, it's one of those things where I feel like that's a big story. But, obviously got overlooked because of the quarterback situation. So,
let's talk about the three quarterbacks, the no three quarterbacks thing that Kyle was talking about and mentioned. Some people have brought up that it might be him posturing to try and make the league make the rule where they have the third QB. Do you think that's a thing, or do you think he's really planning on going through most of the season with only two quarterbacks that know the system and waiting for one to go down and putting the next guy in, and then going out on the free market and looking for somebody to come in? You think that's his end game? Like, is that the two scenarios you see with that comment of what he's trying to accomplish?
I tried to read into that too. That it's hard to tell where Kyle's at. It's hard to read his mind, but I still think they're going to get a quarterback in the draft for development to see what he can do. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's not going to be a top dog, but the reason is in training camp, okay, because Brock Purdy's not going to be doing any preseason games. You need a quarterback in preseason to go out there, at least kill some reps, kill some quarters for you. So they'll probably have a quarterback that can come in and maybe see what he can do. Whether he makes the roster or not, or practice squad, it'll be determined. But the other situation is, even if Brock Purdy is healthy and he comes back, I still think they're going to have three quarterbacks on this team. And I still think because of what happened last year, is you went to this point where you were, in the NFC Championship game, and then boom, quarterback. We all know why they got the extra quarterback, right? A, to safeguard themselves. B, to put pressure on Trey Lance because Brock's injured. Obviously, like Kyle said, if he was healthy, Brock Purdy being if he was healthy, it'd be a whole different situation. He'd be the guy. It wouldn't even be a hard situation. We wouldn't have this question. We wouldn't have to stop. But obviously, he had a big injury. So now you're going to give that opportunity to Trey Lance and say, hey, look, I know we drafted you, but you still need to prove us something. It sucks because he did have an injury, and it's like, okay, we have this window. We don't want it to close. We don't want to waste our time and develop. You have to develop. So he has to come in quick and prove him. And then you got Sam Darnold, who's this guy who, number 3 pick in the draft. He was kind of a bust. In all intents and purposes, he's kind of humbled, but he wants to have a renaissance of his career. He wants to like resuscitate his career. So it's going to be like, okay, you have two guys, let the best man win. And people that are saying, oh, Sam sucks, da 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 da. Well, if Trey Lance can't beat him, then that tells you everything you know. So then, yeah, there's going to be a situation coming into camp. It's going to be fun. I want to see it play out, but I don't think there's any sense that they're going. I know he said that they're going to go in with two quarterbacks, but that could also mean that Brock Purdy might not be ready to start at the beginning of the season. He might go on the injured reserve. So then, yeah, you have two quarterbacks, Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. Whoever the hell wins that battle is going to be QB1 until Brock comes. But then whoever, takes that role, I'm assuming it's going to be Trey Lance. Let's say he goes and kills it, and Brock Purdy's not even playing for 4 weeks. Well, guess what? If Trey Lance goes out there, kills it, they're 4-0, guess what, Brock? We're going to wait. We're going to wait because Trey Lance is cooking. So it's a good situation to be in, but it's going to be, it's weird because we don't know how it's going to play out, and everybody's uncertain. Everybody picks their side, and that's what the 49ers do to us is they make us pick sides, and it becomes this, oh, I like him. It's just an emotional roller coaster.
There was somebody I was talking to, I don't know if it was on Twitter or a chat, and I was saying the 49ers are going to draft a quarterback. And he said, no, they're going to pick up an undrafted free agent. And that made a lot of sense to me. The reason being, that's a guy you can stash on the practice squad. So you're going to have somebody in-house learning everything you need that no one's tempted to go out and sniff, you know what I mean, and kick the tires on. And so that might be it. But also, like, I truly think that not that it's a 1-for-1 version of, but if you want somebody who's done everything and been in all the same scenarios as Brock Purdy, that Stetson Bennett guy is almost got the same resume, as far as what he's been through. He's been to the big games. He's lost the big games. He's won the big games. You know what I mean? Like, he's been around there. So I think, I just don't know if that's somebody you could stash. And also, like, he says he's only going to keep 2. But if Brock comes back at week 4, let's say Trey Lance isn't blowing us out of the water, but he's better than what we've seen from Sam Darnold. Does that mean that at week 5, Sam Darnold's gone? No, I think we could keep him up to the trade deadline. You know what I mean? To try and use him to recap some capital. So when he says, 3 quarterbacks, yeah, he's 2 quarterbacks. He's planning only having 2. He might just be using the other to turn around and use for capital at that point. So that's another philosophy I saw with, reading between lines, kind of, you know what I mean? Seeing what could, yeah,
that's a good point because, again, maybe they do have 2 quarterbacks on the roster to start, like we said, but you're right. There's a trade deadline. And if one of those 2 guys puts together some good film or whatnot, and then Brock's ready to come back, and they definitely know, okay, he's the starter, yeah, you could trade one of the other guys. So I don't know. It's interesting. And now there's also the narrative out there that people are saying that the 49ers are setting it up to trade Trey Lance. And initially when my initial thoughts, and I was on Larry Krueger on Monday, and when we always talk, that was like the first thing of the week. And, both of us were coming fresh off of this, John Lynch interview and everything. And we both kind of got the vibe. Maybe Trey Lance is going to be getting traded. And Larry's that's his prediction. A lot of people are saying it's a narrative. It's his prediction. And I think he makes some good points about it. So there's still an opportunity for the 49ers to go and trade Trey Lance. But again, I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Look at what they did with Jimmy. Look at how they kept Jimmy around the whole time. They were just like, no, look at Jed York. I'm willing to keep Jimmy for up to 2 years and pay his full contract, and I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's more about at least we have some stability at quarterback. And I know people can't, stability. Trey Lance, he's only had 4 starts of this and that. Well, it's better than Sam Darnold, who has no starts in the system. You know what I mean? It's better than any guy coming off the street, essentially. So I could see them also. If you trade him right now, he's got no capital. Somebody's like, I could see you barely getting a third for him right now.
See, I don't know about that.
I don't either. I'm sure you could probably get a second. You know what I mean? Maybe a first, but I don't. Somebody would have to be like, nope, we're totally sold on him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he has to be like one of those teams that needs a quarterback, like one of those teams, Indianapolis or somebody like that, and they know they can't get within the top 5, or they see that
like
Trey Lance,
Houston.
or it could be like they see Trey Lance better than one of those guys on the board. Because again, if you think about it, he still hasn't really played in the league, so then he's basically like a first-round pick, quarterback. So you have to, in your mind, say, would he be better if he was coming out of college this year? Would he be better than Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, all those other guys? Like, that's what, as a GM, you have to think and put yourself in. And if he is, then there's a price to pay for a guy, probably a first-round pick. But again, that's hard to determine. You know what I mean? So it's a tough question. I don't think so, because again, of what happened last year, they want to put themselves in the best position with quarterback, because they've been burned in the quarterback position. And it's not just last year. Kittle today, if you watched Bussin with the Boys today, I love that podcast. He made a comment. He goes, I'm happy for all of them. Trey has talent. He needs the reps. He goes, Sam Darnold's a talented guy. Obviously, we know Brock, he's the leader. He agreed with it all. But he said, listen.
Is Sam Darnold a talented guy?
Yeah, he said at the end, but he says at the end of the day, I've had quarterback controversy for 4 straight years. Like, whoopee, and I get that. And it's like, if the fans are annoyed about it, can you imagine what these players are like? Dude, another year of quarterback draw. Just figure it out. Just give us a quarterback. Because Kyle or George Kittle, since he's been on the 49ers in 2017, he's never had a season where the quarterback was the same guy throughout the year or played the whole season. Always had injuries. I think 2019 was the most stable year in terms of quarterback, But other than that, man, you went through Brian Hoyer and Jimmy Garoppolo, CJ Beathard, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard and Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Jimmy and Trey. And then, it's exhausting.
Yes. So let's break from the quarterback real quick. My big philosophy is the 49ers need to go out and get a decent tight end this year, because the 22 personnel will be more deadly and more dangerous to other teams with the mismatches than the 21 personnel. What's the probability you think of this? Especially now, it seems like they're switching their run game from an outside zone type or a zone running scheme to a power. So I would think that going with an extra tight end, if you're trying to do power, an extra tight end that could kind of block, you know what I mean, and who's deadly, big target in the passing game, put him across from Kittle. You know what I mean? I see that being the evolution of the offense next year. What's your thoughts?
That would be nice to see that, like a little evolution of it, because I love this offense, but I think Kyle could take it to a whole new level. And if you get this tight end that just, has the, just like Antonio Gates type potential, I guess is what I want to say. Because, if you get a tight end like that, we love blockers, but a guy that could come in and just be a flat out stud in the passing game, it would change this offense. And I love the blocking. I know Kittle's going to be there, but Kittle's not going to be Kittle forever. He's 30. You got to figure out a guy that's going to replace him slowly. And in the meantime, before he's replaced, he could come in and make a big impact on this offense. So yeah, definitely, I think tight end 100% is going to be a situation where they're going to go into. I think they're going to get a tight end this year. I'd be surprised if they don't, because they have 3 on the roster. Dwelly, he's got a 1-year deal. I don't see him sticking around. He's been on the team for 6 years, but he hasn't been that guy that we all expected this week. I thought he was going to be, a bigger impact to this team. Good backup, good tight end too. When Kittle misses games, he steps in admirably. Charlie Warner's a blocker, but they need a guy that can maybe do both and like Kittle and replace him eventually. So yeah, 100% get a tight end. Somebody on the comment said, get another left tackle to replace Trent. I absolutely agree. They got to get a tackle either right or left, or a guy that could, convert or something, because he ain't going to be playing forever. He might be retiring next year.
That's why I'm totally down with drafting 3 tackles this year. We've got 11 picks. Well, think about this.
Get 2, 3.
Out of 3, let's say we need to think about 2 tackles within the next year/2 years, right?
Yeah.
So let's go after 3. One of them probably won't be good. So there's 2 options right there.
Yeah.
You can see what you have over the course of the year, and then go back to the draft and maybe draft 1, maybe 2 more, depending on what you need to solidify that position. You'll be good. Get rid of Moore. Get rid of Moore.
Jalen Moore, yeah. He's getting If he makes the 53-man roster, I will be scared for the offensive line.
I just, it seems like, look at all the free agent offensive linemen they're picking up. Those are all power type of offensive linemen.
Big guys.
They're thick. Yeah. They're rocks. Our offensive line is going to kind of look not necessarily like Dallas's offensive line, but we're going to have some chunky boys.
We're going to have some big boys. Yeah, we're going to have some big boys, man. I'm telling you, because usually they're like those agile type guys. They're not really big, but now we got some players that actually looks like offensive linemen. I'm like, oh, okay, I like it. Because if you watch Philly last year, their O-line was just big hog mollies, like big-ass dudes. And it's hard to move those guys. They're just boulders. And that's what the 49ers, I feel like, are adding to this team.
That's why I didn't understand why they now I really don't understand the re-signing of Colton McKivitz.
I think they like the fact that he's cheap. And I feel like they do still need some guys that can maybe be, that could kind of move and be athletic. Because Kyle he is going to have that zone scheme. It may not. I know he's kind of transitioning a little bit, but Colton McKivitz does have that athleticism that he likes out of a lineman. But again, you're right. Fitting the mold of bigger guys. He's not necessarily the bigger guy, but maybe he likes what it seems.
He's now a guard. He's essentially in the system. He's now a guard.
Yeah.
Overnight, the scheme changed. He went from tackle to guard.
They probably like his footwork. I really do think.
Because if you look at Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks was like the start of the overturning of the guard.
He was a mauler, but he got himself into a really cut. Like his physique's changed. Like when he first came in, he had a lot of that baby fat. He was like that.
Yep.
He was bigger. He was thicker, but he's still a boulder. Like you could just see he's still like a mauler out there, but he's a little leaner. But yeah, Colton definitely looks a little bit more like a McGlinchey guy. He's on the smaller side, but maybe that's what they like there on that right side. I don't know what they run. But, yeah, I mean, you got to look at the other guys. Feliciano and Matt Pryor they brought in. I mean, those guys are boulders, man. I like it. I like that they had, bigger guys like that. I think it's going to help this line. And Spencer Burford's a pretty big guy, too. So
I don't see if they're going to the power run game. I don't see how Colton McKivitz can start over Pryor.
I don't know. It's going to be a good battle. But that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have. That means camp competition.
No, I got you.
It's going to be great. I love it. And they're still going to run those zone runs because you got freaking CMC guy. Have you seen this, man? Have you seen his training? Like, that guy's a fucking monster.
He's not getting to the edge with the same quickness as Raheem Mostert, so it's not 10 yards a clip. You know what I mean? It's not a 10-yard clip average as the other. He's still different.
He's got that short burst, though. That short burst. And he does make people miss when he tackles. He's got that little juke. I don't know. CMC.
I want to see them. I want to see him used in the backfield with another actual running back, not necessarily like Juice, because Juice isn't used like a regular running back. And he probably shouldn't be, except for like those, 3rd and 1 dive plays every 12 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they need to use him more. They absolutely need to use him more. The guy I want to see more.
They need to use him in the pass game more.
No, they need to use Juice as like the screen catcher guy, like little dump off passes. 100% agree. He can run the wheel route. He's phenomenal route runner, actually, for a fullback. Guy's amazing. But the guy I want to see used more is Jordan Mason. I think if we're talking about power run game, that's the guy I want to see explode up the gut, hit him with the HB dive kind of stuff. That's the guy I want to see. I'm curious to see what TDP does this year, but I'm not going to hold my breath because those 3rd-round running backs in Kyle Shanahan, not a good track record.
Imagine Deebo Samuel going in motion left. And then you're faking to, we're just talking about this. Jordan Mason. Fake it to Jordan Mason up the gut, and then you just do a little toss to CMC, and he's going off to the right side. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that going on in the backfield at one time. The linebackers, what are they going to do?
What is going on?
Too much to respect.
Yeah, 100%. Man, it's going to be. I'm excited to see how this team's going to be. I think the biggest question mark that everybody knows is quarterback, but I think they're in a good position. I think ultimately all 3 of the guys that Kyle Shanahan has right now on his roster are going to be able to move the ball and play the offense.
Shout out to John V. He says, Jed, we're going to need those bigger tubs right about now. Yes. Which, thank you for bringing this up, because I wasn't thinking about bringing this up, and now it's something else to bring up. You saw Jed's interview, right?
Mm-hmm. I did.
So did you see the Cone Zone where Grant Cone and Lowell Cone were talking about kind of the news of the days?
I didn't catch all of it. I watched a little bit of it. I mean, I was when was it? Yesterday's?
I don't know. I think it was the day before that. I think it might have been Tuesday. I'm not sure though.
What was it about?
So they were talking about how, you know, Grant had asked him, are you kind of content with where you're at as far as, you know, wins and, you know, playoffs and, you know, Super Bowls?
Oh,
and he says, well, yeah, we're in the mix. And Lowell Cone was like, man, he said, Al Davis would have yelled at somebody. He said, Eddie DeBartolo, and when are you crazy? We're not trying to be in the mix. Being in the mix is for the other guys. We want to be the one at the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And do you think Jed is just, he had so much trouble after he lost Harbaugh that he is just complacent with being in the mix? And do you think it's okay to be happy with being in the mix as an owner, not as a fan, but is it okay for an owner to be happy just to be in the mix, or do they have to be Super Bowl or bust?
I mean, I feel like he's come a long way since those times with after Harbaugh, because that was a crazy time. You know, there was a lot of politics involved, you know, behind the scenes type stuff. We all know him and Trent, Bulky. They were boys. He chose his boy. And then I think he eventually realized, yeah, we can't be doing this. This wasn't the move. And a lot of players left because the coach left and they weren't finding the right guy. So he scrapped it and he says, listen, I need to get a team that's going to be able to fix this. And, you know, I think he did for a while step back, and he let John, he let Kyle, he let this front office prerogative, everybody kind of fix what went wrong. And I think he's kind of stepping back more into a more little aggressive, maybe not aggressive, but more active role with making decisions. Because they said, you know, this week that, hey, we went up to Jed Yorks and told him we need the money to go get Hargrave. Like, we need to do this. We need to get this guy. We need to make this defense better. You know, this is our strength. And Jed said, okay. So I think he's trying to win a Super Bowl. I don't think he's content on not. I think it's okay to be, you know, knowing that you're going to be at least in the mix of getting close. I think that definitely is a good thing to have, because, you know, this team with this front office and this coach, 3 out of the last 4 years they've been in an NFC Championship. They are knocking on the door, but he knows that they're the football minds. Jed Yorks not the football mind. He's not the GM. He's not the coach. He's going to write the checks. He knows that he trusts them because they've built this team over the last couple of years. When he stepped back and they've put this team in good foot space, you know, he says, I trust you guys, so I'm going to let you guys do your decisions. But now, if you guys need something, let me know, because whatever we need to do to take us to the next step, I'm there with you. I want to win the Super Bowl, because he knows he's been desecrated. People have hated him for years. If he wins the Super Bowl, people will say, look at what he's done. He's turned it around. He knows that he'll get glory along with the team, too, if they win. So I think he has taken a bigger approach. And I think it's okay for him saying that, yeah, we've been in the mix, because that's better than what they were, you know, for a long time before that. But I do want him to say, maybe, you know, for the fans to say, because there's going to be fans who are like, oh, well, why don't you think we should be Super Bowl champion? Like, obviously, we all want to win a Super Bowl, but in order to get to the Super Bowl, you still got to be in the mix first. You can't get to the Super Bowl if you're not in the mix. So I think it's a good way of, you know, summarizing, like, yeah, we've been in the mix, but there's one thing that we haven't been able to do to get over the hump, and we got to figure it out. And that he's going to leave it up to Kyle and John. And to me, that's the quarterback situation. So I think he didn't say anything wrong. I think he's come a long way, because, man, he took some L's and he took a lot of, you know, strays, and people were coming for his neck a couple years back. And even I was very critical, but I've seen him really, really progress over the years. I mean, he's not DeBartolo, obviously we know that, but he's come a long way. I will say
he's
that.
Not even a pubic hair compared to Eddie DeBartolo.
Yeah, he's not, but he's come a long way.
Speaking of the hair, like, not to take shots, but I kind of want to take shots. If you got that much money, bro, can't you figure out something to do with the bald spot or something? You know what I mean?
Maybe he likes it.
No one's like, I think you look more distinguished with your awkward ball spot, Jed. Okay. Now, Jed, I'm saying this at the bottom of my heart. Just figure something out, man. You know how much more confident I'll feel in you if you could just figure out something to do with your hair. You know what I mean?
It's bad.
He slicks it back like he slicks it back like he's some dude on Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you ain't. I know the people you went to college with are, but you got born into something where you didn't have to apply yourself. Okay. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like, I do think I've been appreciating. I'm sorry. Is that a little too much?
No, that's funny, man. That's good. That's funny.
I see, and I'm with John here. I respect him for staying out of the way.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not saying that he needs to totally not be there. I think there's definitely things he can apply himself to, like marketing strategies and stuff like that. But let football be the football guys thing.
Agreed.
If you have a problem with your guys, then you obviously need to get some outside consultation. You know what I mean? When making decisions that about like maybe getting rid of your GM or your coach or something like that, and figure out, talk to somebody else who's smart, as far as football things go, to kind of give you some ideas, or even disciplining your coach. Maybe you need to break your foot off at Kyle's ass real quick and you don't know how to do it without making him throw a tantrum and never want to work for you again. You know what I mean? There's things you might need. So here we go. We got John V saying he 100% agree with you, Raj.
Appreciate you, John. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, I think, again, I agree with you guys. I definitely think that there's a time and a place for him to, step in. And I think that maybe now he could step in and say something a little bit. But again, I do like him stepping back and letting them handle football operations. But, they did ask him about, spending more money on the stadium. And you could tell he's about the bottom line of this team, the bottom dollar. His goal is to make profits. And for this team to make profits, obviously, you need more butts in the seats. How do you get more butts in the seats? Win football games. Bottom line. Because when this team was not winning, nobody was going to Levi Stadium. I used to come down to the stadium, and it was empty. And there was nobody there. It was big wigs watching and diehard fans. That's about it. Now, winning games, stadium's a vibe. It's filled up. So he knows. He absolutely knows. The more we do, the more games we win, the more fans are going to be there. And if fans are there, the players are happy, and it's an electric atmosphere. So they know they got to win. And I think and again, the Hargrave move tells you everything you know. Is he said, "Oh, is this what we need? Let's do it." Christian McCaffrey. That was a freaking amazing trade mid-season. I didn't see it come. Nobody saw it coming, and I was like, "Damn!" I'm sure he signed off on that. And even though this hasn't panned out yet, the Trey Lance thing, like, he signed off. He says, "Whatever we got to do. You want 3 draft picks? Send them. Let's get a quarterback. Like, that's what you guys want." Like, he's okay with what they're doing. So I'm happy that he knows this team's in the mix, because they were not in the mix for a long time. And again, I'm glad they're where they're at. I think we all as fans know that we all want them to win a Super Bowl, but from their perspective, I'm sure they see that they've really improved over the years, so they see it as they're on the, trending upward scale. But at some point, you got to turn this shit and make it a Super Bowl. You got to deliver at some point. You got to.
You've got the whole chat. You got a lot of guys in the chat getting all thirsty over your hair.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they haven't even seen my locks. You know what I mean? My wavy locks. So I don't know.
That's a good. Thanks, John. I like that. That's the best compliment I get. That I got the best hair out of all Niner content creators. That's a good compliment. John, you're my guy. I like that.
It's like always. It like always looks nice whether you gave it any attention or not. I will say that.
I appreciate it. I won best hair in middle school and high school. So I guess it's right.
Oh, snap. Snap. Got the ladies go. He's got the bit. You know it.
I know. I have hair.
Oh, poor Tommy. He says his hairline's fucked.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. Supposedly it goes off your mother's father, which my mother's father went bald at 35 when he took his helmet off after the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Oh wow.
That's when it started. Yeah. His hair started coming out.
I'm sure mine would have. I would have been stressed to the max. But you know, thankfully, thank my family. Got great genes. I passed my hair off to my daughter. She's got like amazing. Her hair is she got that long, crazy Indian hair. So
does she got the blue tint to the hair, or is it like the reddish?
No, it's like a reddish tint. Yeah.
See, I don't know, for some reason I always like the blue tint, the black with the blue tint, kind of like a raven. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like for some reason, I'm like,
I have some cousins. I have one of my cousins. She's got like that sleek black, and it's got like that blue aura to it. I'm like,
yeah.
It's nice. Right? Yeah, she's got some nice hair. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I've always been like,
her mom, one of my aunts, my mom's sister, one of her sisters, she's got that. That's like that hair she got. But my mom had like the reddish tint. It was like an auburn kind of
a red bone.
Yeah, so that's why she got that.
Bone.
She got that. That's where we get it from. Because I got like, if you get up close, you can see like there's like a auburn brownish tint.
Yeah, isn't it funny how the hair's like that? It's kind of got two different kind of sheens.
Yeah.
So let's get into the whole. I don't know how I want to broach this, because I think like there's like a timeline's handy to like try and, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why the 49ers are so like complacent with just like tossing away 3 first-round picks for nothing. You know what I mean? And Trey Lance, like, look, I understand play hot hand. Don't get me wrong. Got that. Okay. Hot hand's not going to be suiting up. Probably won't be playing first couple games of the season. Okay. We're not talking about that right now. But to bring Sam Darnold in to steal reps away from Trey Lance, who needs reps. That's his whole thing, is he needs 100%. Reps. And you're talking about bringing a guy in who doesn't know the system. You know what I mean? To now he's got to learn the system, and he's going to be taking reps away from Trey Lance. And I'm guessing Trey Lance is going to win for the fact that Trey Lance knows the system. He knows the receivers a little better. You know what I mean? Like, he's got more time with everybody. I think that, and then you got Sam Darnold, who sees ghosts. And I think the best thing for him this year is first thing he needs to do is get back to basics with Brian Greasy and kind of cleanse the palate, and then go from there. Worry about your competition and all that stuff after you get your stuff figured out. So I think, like, I can't remember who told it, but we got a whole bunch of mental cases just in the quarterback room. You know what I mean? Like, we've got a guy who sees ghosts. We got a guy who sees his career flashing in front of him. And then we got another guy who we don't know if there's a one, but everybody's in love. You know what I mean? They're Twitter pated.
Eight games. So they're like, wow, they're blown away, because the problem with the 49ers, I feel like we're kind of short-sighted, because we want a Super Bowl. We want them to win. We saw this man win. He's the guy. They get short-sighted. I think they do. They literally do. And I love Brock Purdy. I love what he did. But was it enough? Was it a good enough sample size?
Do you know what target fixation is?
Yeah.
It's when I'm gonna tell for the people in the chat. It's when like a fighter pilot or bomber, it's when they're fixed on their target so much that they actually like fly into it.
Yeah.
Or they can't avert away from it in time. They find
they're just zoned in on it. Yeah, they're zoned in on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's target fixation. And so it seems to me like, you know, this is what I see out of not Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had some plays during the season, a lot of plays that went totally in his favor.
Yeah, He had a lot of luck. He did.
Yes. And now people are watching tape. And if they know that their linebackers need to be a couple steps over to the right or a couple steps over the left, so when they do their normal thing, they're more in position to make some of the plays or something, you know, I'm just making just
yeah.
Then they can start capitalizing on that. And you're talking about Brock Purdy, who's gonna come off an injury,
Yeah.
and who's going to try and come back and reclaim his throne, you know. He's not going to have any time to go back, check the tape on him, you know, check the scouting report on him, do the necessary work to kind of change thing enough to where you feel confident that even though they're scouting you a certain way, you've done enough to prevent them from being able to do anything to counter what you're doing, you know, to capitalize on your instincts or your play.
I think the one concern I have with Brock, again, he's coming off an injury, and we're all hoping he comes back 100% because we know this team values him as the starting quarterback. Whether you agree with that or not, I don't care. That's what they care. That's the team. They're telling us, and I respect their opinion and their evaluation. They're hoping he comes back to be that starting quarterback. But you're absolutely right. When he's preparing for the season, he's rehabbing. It's not like he's working on improving himself. I'm sure he wants to. But right now, his focus is training to get back to just play football. It's not training to be better, to build yourself up like the other players right now coming into this season. They're training to be better. They're training to get, stronger, faster. Brock Purdy's training to make sure he can actually play football again. So he's going to miss a little bit of that development time. And who knows what he's going to be able to do in training camp. He'll be limited too because, again, he's just going to be ramping up and throwing. So there is that sense of, and everybody says, Brock Purdy can only get better because he was a rookie last year, and I get that. He was a rookie, and it was amazing. And he's only 23. He will get better. I don't know how much better he's going to get this offseason. Of course, he'll get better when he plays and gets those reps, just like Trey Lance. But how much is he going to get better if he's just rehabbing this offseason? So that is a big concern. Teams are going to look at the film, and he's going to be coming into the season pretty much where he left off last year and hoping that he can regain, the arm and the strength and the throwing. So it's not a home run to say that, Brock Purdy's going to be better next year. We can't guarantee that because, again, rehabbing is different than training to get better. His work that he's going to be doing this offseason, whole lot different than it would have been if he was healthy coming into the season. It's a whole different mindset. So, good point, Ryan.
And I want to say what up to Beto from 49ers Sickness. Shout out, subscribe to Beto. Also, my main man, Corey Davis. These gentlemen both have a show tonight at 7 o'clock here. Niners Sickness has got a show going on with a whole bunch of content creators for San Francisco, for the 49ers content creators. Faithful, put it in the chat, please. Beto. And then later tonight, if anybody likes trivia, I suggest they go over to Corey Davis' channel. You can jump on and do trivia with us, or you could be in the chat and do trivia with us. I'll be on there too. I don't know if I'll be there right at the start, but I'll be jumping in at some point. So the next 2 hours or 3 hours I'll be streaming.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So hit them up. Let's see. One thing I really want to talk about is it okay for the Niners to just essentially walk away from 3 years of first round draft picks for, whatever compensation they might end up getting out of Trey if they decide, we're going hot hand, this and that? Is it okay that they walk away from that and there's no repercussions from it? There's no rubbing your nose in the shit for it.
That's a good question because I know a lot of people are saying that they're wasting their draft picks and that they were aggressive enough to go and make the move because they saw that they were like, okay, this is a very good quarterback class. Jimmy's hurt. We can upgrade, get the QB franchise because they're always looking away up. So like we talked about earlier with Kittle, you want to get the guy that you can replace Kittle with. You want to get the guy that you can replace Trent Williams. I think they were looking ahead to say we can get the guy to replace Jimmy with because he's going to be out in a few years. So they were looking ahead. Now I know the price was steep, but that was a big quarterback class, and they saw this guy. And I think at the moment, it was the right move. Again, hindsight, we look at it now. He got injured. You can't predict that he was going to get hurt. So that is just bad luck on the turn. But I feel like
if it was just him being injured, then why would they bring in Sam Darnold and be like, now Trey, you need to compete, and the person
because of the fact that every year the same thing happens.
How do you train to stop a 300-pound guy from snapping your ankle?
You don't, but that's the problem is if it happens again, because there's 300 guys
Then don't
pound
run
guys running at him
RPOs with
every year.
them. Is that
But
is
I'm
it
just
that hard?
saying,
So no, I know, but
you
this is
have to
this.
make sure if it happens again, you want to make sure you have a quarterback that you can plug in there. Like that. That's really
And
it.
who's
And the
to say
Niners.
Purdy can't get hurt the same way? How
No,
did
I'm not
all of
saying he can't, because Purdy's a guy that can get hurt too. He could come in and his elbow can get fucked up again. Like we don't know. But you need to make sure you have
exactly?
3 quarterbacks. And it's
That's
not a waste. The draft picks were not a waste, because I think Trey Lance, that drafting a quarterback, it could have been Mac Jones, it could have been Justin Fields. Like the quarterback, I think at this point
you
is
could have
irrelevant,
stayed at
because they
12 and
traded
got
up.
Mac.
They could have got anybody, right? They could have got anybody at quarterback. I think the name it's synonymous with Trey, because it was Trey, he's a bust. They should have got this guy. I'm not even gonna go down that road, because the rookie quarterback at that point was plan C. I think they had other plans that year. They were going to go get Matt Stafford. We know that, documented very well. McVay says, haha, screw you. We're going to do you one better, and we're going to go get Matt Stafford. And Kyle's like, all right, didn't act hot enough. And then the other guy they were going to get was Deshaun Watson. But then all the legal stuff came out, and the Niners were like, we don't want to have anything to do with it. He's not going to play.
And
What's
then they
plan
went
C?
for
Plan
Aaron
C.
Rodgers. They went for Aaron Rodgers. It was just funny because their whole
Oh, that's
strategy
true.
is to get cheap, at the position, but they
Green Bay said, no, we ain't getting rid of him.
right.
We ain't getting rid of him. So then the next plan was, we got to get a young quarterback. And in their mind, they were like, well, yeah, that makes sense, because if we get a young quarterback, we can get a rookie contract, and we can extend Debo and Kittle and Warner and blah, 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 blah. Down
Well,
so it was a natural. It was not a bad
but you
plan.
knew Trey was a project, right?
Yeah, 100%. They knew it.
Okay. So when you take Trey at the 3rd overall pick after you do 3 years of first round draft picks, how do you not go, I am in a project, I now need to go all in on my project. I spent 3
and I agree with that. See, and that's where we agree, because I said that year. I remember when they did it. I was live for months and months. Me and Smitty, and that was my whole take, was Trey has to play. Trey has to play. Trey has to play. And they did it. And I was like, all right, let them learn. I can see this. I can understand it. I let them do their thing, and they weren't ready to put him in. And then when Jimmy went hurt and Trey got in, this was what my take was. I said, the moment Trey comes in, you don't look back. You let him go in there. You let him play. You let him take his lumps, because you need him to develop at some point. And you're going to go through a phase where, yeah, you might suck. You might lose some games. You got to take those lumps in order for him to develop the right way. They didn't, because they were scared, because they want to win. Because these fans would have been like, well, you guys suck. You drafted this guy. You didn't get to the championship game. They got to the NFC championship game. Fans loved the season, but they should have started Trey. And then last year, he was going to start. And I think they were going to be okay with having
No, he did start.
a develop. Well, yeah, he was going to start, right? He did. So they were, I think at that point, they're like, okay, we know we got to develop him. And that was what was going to happen last year. But he got hurt. And Kyle said it too. He goes, we were expecting him to play. We expected him to start, and we expected him to do good. They felt that he could have probably come in and won those games, like Brock did. Would he have won a whole bunch of games in a row? Probably not. But he would have probably won enough games to win the Super, to get to the playoffs. How
do you get just labeled as injury prone by being stuck behind a shit offensive line, get injured with your thumb, you know what I mean, right? Then you go and play a team with a really good defense, you get injured there. Supposedly Kyle wanted to start him the week after that Arizona game, but he couldn't because he was injured.
He got hurt. Yeah.
And then he starts the season, right? He starts the next season. He has a horrible first game. The offense starts to, you don't really get a good look, but it seems like it was a lot better than the week prior. And then all of a sudden he gets his ankle snapped by a 300-pound lineman. Now all of a sudden he's injury prone. He needs to fight for his not a starting position, but his backup position with Sam Darnold, who sees ghosts. And the 49ers have rumors of being able to trade him somewhere around the draft. How is that any sort of, how does that make sense when you look at what the 49ers are trying to say out of both sides of their mouth? Oh no, we like Trey. We think he's got a great this and that, even though they've ran him into the ground, gave him I heard Kyle Shanahan didn't think he was as fast, or wasn't as fast as he thought he was. And it was like, well, okay. And then it's like, well, and then people say, well, his passing, his inaccuracy. And I'm like, well, his inaccuracy during certain things. Like, he's really good at the long ball. So it's like, if you're an offensive genius, you've spent 3 years worth of first round draft picks on him. Why aren't you using his specialty, which is that long bomb, and the fact that you've got one of the best run schemes in the entire NFL? Why don't you marry something together that works consistently and have something of your old scheme in there, so you can, when you know what the defense is doing, you can call in a certain play that he can execute, that'll give him confidence in the system, where he can get that rep inside your normal system. And then on crucial downs, like 3rd and long, he's doing a bootleg like he used to do in college. You know what I mean?
No,
Something that's
100%. Like, you want to play to his strengths, but it tells me that maybe he's not showing them what they want to see in practice or behind the scenes. Because Kyle has
I heard Brock Purdy wasn't giving anybody anything in practice, really, that
maybe he wasn't. And the thing is, though, I feel like the difference was when Brock came in, it was a whole, like, he took control of the offense. He showed poise, and I think that's all Kyle wanted to see. And he challenged them. And he, again, when he came in, obviously they had no choice to put him in. He was the 3rd quarterback. But to me, it was telling when he played good in preseason, and everybody thought Nate Sudfeld was going to be QB3. I remember there was Nate Sudfeld. They paid him $2 million. They cut his ass. And I was like, damn, they paid him $2 million. And they say, no, we got to keep Brock. So that, to me, tells me they saw something that they were like, we got to keep this guy just in case. And when Trey went down, it wasn't an unfortunate thing. But again, to me, it tells me that they knew that he still had some issues to work out, to iron out. He maybe was, again, he was raw. He didn't get the reps. He needed them. But when Brock came in, he showed like, hey, man, I'm seasoned. I played 4 years in college. And I think that was a major difference in the way he came in and handled himself. And again, I love Trey, and I think he deserves a chance. But I feel like that's what it was, is he didn't show them that tenacity that maybe Brock did. And again, the fact they cut Nate, to me, was the biggest telling sign. Like, well, they cut Nate. This Brock Purdy guy's QB3. And at first, we're not thinking anything of it. Like, oh, okay, he makes the roster. But I think looking back at it, using hindsight, it's like, that should have told us everything we knew, that, wow, they really, really saw something in this Brock Purdy guy, because they cut a guy for $2 million. And everybody was sitting there when they were doing like roster projections. You had everybody, Lombardi, everybody was like, this is the guy. Nate Sudfeld's your 3rd string quarterback. It's going to happen. And then boom, Brock Purdy. And everybody was like, well, that's a little different.
Speaking of Lombardi, did you see Jesse Naylor's tweet the other day?
Which one? I've seen a lot of his tweets.
It was the one where he was showing, I believe the gentleman's name is Akash or Akash.
Yeah,
Akash. Yeah, Akash. It was showing his tweet, and it was like, it had all this information on it. It said, an hour ago. And then it showed David Lombardi's tweet, which was all the information just reworded, and it was like 30 minutes ago. And then there was another tweet that was like this information, and then it was Lombardi 30 minutes ago. Same information, just different.
I see that happen a lot.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I see that happen a lot. I mean, sometimes I'm busy and I miss something and I want to post something, and I'm still gonna post it, but it's maybe a little later. Or some people see stuff from me and they post it after. I don't care. People, that's what their content they want. But it is funny when you see it. You're like, it was a little. It was
why not just retweet somebody?
Retweet. I know, but everybody wants to put their product out there.
And this is the other thing. You've got a quote tweet for a reason. So add more context, add more information to it to add to the experience, but still give the person their credit.
Yeah, I agree. I try to credit people as much as I can. But yeah, it's, I'm not gonna speculate.
I'll take any shot I can to take a dig at Lombardi. Just so you know, I'm petty.
Yeah. I like everybody, man, out there that I'm not everybody, but I like
you can.
People.
You
I
can.
Like certain people.
I'm not going to hold it against you.
I'm not saying he's perfect. I see that stuff, and I'm just, at the end of the day, man, it's it's social media, man. I don't think we should get mad at it, but it's funny when you see that stuff. When I saw that, I was like, damn, he really threw the receipts out there. I laughed a lot at that. I was like, oh. At that point, yeah, just retweet it. But it was funny. Yeah.
What did first thing, we got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
let's see. Is there anything else you think we kind of didn't
I
talk about that we should?
I think we hit on everything. Obviously, we could sit here
Oh,
talk about quarterbacks
real
for
quick.
hours.
NFL, I heard, what was his name? Mike Florio? Mike Florio. I can't remember.
Pro Football Talk?
I think he was talking to Pat McAfee.
Okay.
They were talking about the NFL going to Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games.
Oh yeah. And there's two Thursday night games for teams, maybe.
Well, let's not even worry about that right now. Because if they go to five nights a week for football,
that's a lot.
I think that would they're trying to save TV. They're trying to use football to save television for at least the whatever some weeks, 20-something weeks football's going on. So they're trying to. What's your thought about that? People knee-jerk reaction, what I found so far is they're going, that's not good. People get hurt. But I was like, well, if you've got all these options for days, you could actually probably give each team 7 days minimum before they play again. You know,
I mean, in theory, you can, but I don't think the NFL is going to set it up that way. They're going to have like a special because they want to maximize the market. They're going to want
to flex at times.
Yeah, you're going to have the Sunday slate of games, your Monday night. You can't get rid of Monday night, so you got Monday night game. You got a Tuesday night game. You got, all the – and then you're going to have teams that play Tuesday or Thursday, and then they're going to have a game Sunday. I could see it. They're not smart enough to break down the schedule and say, okay, Chargers played on Tuesday. We can't let them play Sunday. We got to move them to next Tuesday because then that team has to always play on Tuesday or have a bye week.
So have you heard their process of how they do it?
No, I don't know it specifically.
You should look it up. I can't remember all how I do it, but I kind of got the gist of it. They kind of put certain games in there, and then they'll draft a couple versions of it. And then they'll sit down and they'll look at them. And then what they'll do is they'll take certain things that they like from certain schedules and they'll put those together and they'll put it back through the machine. So essentially all you have to do is adjust the machine's algorithm to say, this is the value, anything lower than this value and you can't do it. And then it'll just figure out how to match the values. So,
I mean, it would be cool to see football so many times, but at some point it loses its it gets a little watered down if it's every night, because that's what makes the NFL so special. It's every week you're waiting for those games. You're like, man, I can't wait for this game. And if it's like every night, you got to give the content creators some time to talk about and get some topics and, spice it up and preview the next game. I don't know. I feel like just growing up and seeing football on Sunday, and then you got Monday Night Football. I love it. And then, I hate Thursday night football games because they're usually boring because teams aren't playing 100% because they don't want to get hurt. It just might have played on Sunday. I don't know if I've seen a team play from Monday to Thursday, but I could have swore I've seen a team. You got Monday Night Football and then Thursday Night Football. It's like, are you kidding me? That's horrible for a team. This team is just barely licking their wounds, and then they got a short turnaround, play another primetime game. I don't like it, man. I mean, it's cool because it's football and we all love football, but let them play on Sunday. They got to play 17 games, and then let them play on Monday night. Let have a special game, and then let them rest up, let them train, because I feel like the quality of football will be better if they're not fucking injured, because you don't want to see backups in the game. I don't know.
Real quick, I thought about this one. I think it's El Capitan or something like that on Twitter. They put this out there, and I want to kind of get your thoughts on this. Do you think John Lynch would say that Brock Purdy needed to find a way to stay healthy if he was running the Trey Lance offense and got injured that way?
Oh, that's a hard question. Probably not, because he played through injuries, man. Because he did get injured. I think people got to realize he played through injuries. And
oh my gosh, did he play through a 300-pound lineman snapping his ankle?
No, I know it wasn't the same.
Okay,
play. I'm just saying, man.
Raj, you out of everybody should know the difference
I'm just saying.
Between some strained muscles and ligaments.
I'm going back to I'm going back to Trey Lance. The finger injury. This hamstring injury.
Where'd the finger injury come from? They put him in behind a crap offensive lineman and then made him pass the ball.
But Brock Purdy is your only quarterback at the roster. He had to play through injured ribs. That shit, I have broken my ribs. It's not easy, man. That's not easy.
I wrestled with my VC3 and my VC4 dislocated.
There you go. So
and I got head and arm to the mat, and it got set back in place. And I fought for like 30 seconds until I got stuck. That's all I could do.
The finger shouldn't have been a problem.
I'm just saying. You want to talk about ribs? I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, man. Like it's a valid. I'm just saying.
But how do you find a way to stay healthy? And he wasn't he learning to throw with his other finger? He was learning how to throw and release with his other finger because it's his release hand.
I give him credit. I give him credit for that. But at the end of the day, you just better pray that a 300-pound lineman doesn't fall on your leg. It sucks.
That's why I'm like, I couldn't believe that was John Lynch's response. But
at the end of the day, this is my take real quick. My whole take is I feel like they just haven't given a stamp of approval to Trey because they, for whatever reason, they're like, well, he needs more time. He's injury. I've said this many times. They haven't given him a stamp of approval. Brock Purdy, they were like writing love letters to him this week. They were like gushing at him. This was my analogy this week. It was like Romeo and Juliet. It was like the balcony scene. John Lynch and
not sex Shanahan on a platter just to get you wet.
They were. What was that song you told me in the back? Put one leg over my shoulder.
Oh, one leg over my shoulder. Put your left leg over my shoulder.
That's what they were talking about with Brock.
Yeah.
They were legging it up. They were abducting those hips for Brock, man. Trey Lance, it's he's got a chance to compete.
Cauliflower scalp. Oh, Raj, have you ever heard of such a thing?
Cauliflower scalp, I have. Yeah, it's like cauliflower ear, but the cauliflower scalp. It's from friction breakdown.
Oh, really?
And then you get that. Yeah, what cauliflower is.
I know about cauliflower. Yeah, I know people that have drained and all that. Scalp,
it's the same thing, but it's a legit. It's real.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I knew some guys.
Because some guys have like buzz cuts, so their heads rubbing in on the mat when they're wrestling. So yeah, you can get cauliflower scalp.
I just want to thank everybody tonight. It came in the chat. I mean, you all are superstars. You guys were on fire tonight. I wasn't able to even keep up with you guys. We were going back so far. I think there's a great show. Raj, thank you for coming on. You want to let the people in the chat know where they can find you?
Yeah, if you want to find my content, OurSF49ers. OurSF49ers on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. I don't know, but those are my main three: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. That's where the big boys play. So that's where you find me, OurSF49ers. And appreciate you for having me on. It's always fun talking about the Niners, and everybody has their own unique spin on it. And I'm appreciative of all the hair comments today. That was my biggest takeaway. Thank you for everybody loving my hair.
Yeah, shout out to everybody loving his hair. And with that, we out. Check the description.